Ladies and gentlemen, what a beautiful flag that would be. That could be the flag of Guyana being a territory of the United States of America or a United State, in fact. We have with us tonight Robert Sidi, good friend, immigration attorney out of New York City, who is working to bring reason to the argument of protection for the people of Guyana. There are over, and I need to correct myself, there are over 771,000 Guyanans in the country today, and there are over 280,000 in the United States of America. In fact, there are more outside the country of Guyana in the United States than any other part of the world in terms of diaspora. And so tonight, Robert Sidi is talking about making Guyana, or at least Guyana submitting to the notion of becoming a territory or a state of the Union. Robert, where did you get this idea from? This is an amazing concept. I'm quite certain that this has never been done before for the people of Guyana. Am I right?
An original idea. Yeah, I would say so. Well, when I went into private practice for myself, uh, and I started to have a lot of clients from Guyana, there were very many I could not help because the problem that they had was they had no legal remedy to get a green card or become a citizen. And they were stuck. And I began to think that their problem really wasn't a legal problem, it was more of a political problem. Uh, Not political in terms of the news that we hear every minute that we're alive,
Yeah.
but like political science. And I tried to think beyond the law and think what a political solution would mean. And as I got to know what Guyana was, I thought about Guyana, USA. Just like we have Puerto Rico, USA, we
Mm-hmm.
have the U.S. Virgin Islands, there's some other places in the Pacific, Guam, uh, the Marshall Islands. And if Guyana were to be like Puerto Rico, all the people who had no status, all these clients of mine, would be free of the burden of being illegal in the U.S. So that's what led me to it briefly. I mean, that's the brief explanation of it.
Exactly.
Um,
Now, Robert, there are those who are sitting in Guyana watching this tonight, and they're saying, uh, I don't understand, or what would be the reason for Guyana giving up its situation as a country? Wouldn't that make it smaller in the sense of the United States of America? We wouldn't be uh, discrete, we wouldn't be our own. We wouldn't have our own identity per se. What say you to that?
that's a good question. And what I say to that is, for example, to look to Puerto Rico, which it has a stronger identity than probably any state in the Union because
True.
it retains its status as a territory. So, what do I mean by that? As a territory, Puerto Rico gets to have its own Olympic team. It has it gets to make international agreements, and that's what would also be attributed to Guyana. Guyana wouldn't lose its Olympic team. Guyana wouldn't lose its president. It wouldn't lose anything really. All the political elected officials in Guyana would still be the elected officials of Guyana, except that Guyana would be part of the United States. So the president of Guyana would be the governor of Guyana, etc. The mayors would be the mayors. It wouldn't really change it. What it would change would be granting everyone in Guyana U.S. citizenship, and this would basically break down the wall between the two countries.
Yes.
And specifically about Guyana, is that Guyana was a former colony of Britain, just like the 13 original American colonies. It's not that it was once a colony of France or of Holland or of Germany. It's made of the same stuff that the 13 original colonies of the United States are made of. The same stuff. And should be part of our republic.
In query to that, the whole idea that many people, when you think of colonialization, think of the identity of racial disharmony. In fact, we've been dealing with, as you know, in New York City and in D.C., riots called peaceful protests about racial disharmony. But there's a different thing in Guyana, and it doesn't have to do with race. It has to do with ethnicity. Am I correct about that?
Well, it's the line blurs between race and ethnicity. But just to be a little bit general, let's say that half of Guyana are descendants of slaves from Africa, and the other half are descendants of indentured servants from India.
Yeah.
So there's two races there that are the predominant races. There are Native Americans in the interior. They're called Amerindians. There's a slight bit of Portuguese touch in there, very slight. There's some Chinese immigrants. But basically it's Indians, that is South Asians, descendants, and Africans, that is descendants of slaves from Africa. And that's why I say that Guyana is made of the same stuff as America, because America is made up of descendants of slaves from Africa.
Exactly.
I mean, it's the same stuff. That's what I meant by stuff. What is our country made of? It's made up of our people.
Exactly. Robert, there are those who are unaware in the United States that it has taken 5 months for them to decide, after balloting and counting of ballotings and all of that they have elected their first Muslim president of a socialist democracy party. And I want to play a clip real quick so that people get an idea.
Exactly 5 months after Guyanese went to the polls to choose their leader, Mohamed Irfan Ali has been sworn in as Ghana's 9th executive president. This comes after lengthy court battles, a recount exercise which lasted for 33 days, roughly, and several contentious revelations throughout the process. Ghana's 8th executive president, David Granger, cleared the way for Ali to be sworn in after resolutely stating that he would abide by the declaration of the Election Commission. The president, who had previously asserted he would ensure the votes of the electorate are respected, and who had also maintained claims of irregularities at the 2020 elections, on Sunday declared that he would challenge those irregularities via an election petition. The small and simple swearing-in ceremony of the 9th president took place at the Artichon Conference Center and was officiated by the Chancellor of the Judiciary, Justice Yonet Cummings Edwards, who is the authorized officer of the state to conduct the swearing-in of the president. The ceremony was attended by members of the diplomatic corps, party supporters, and close friends and family of Dr. Ali, along with members of the media.
I, Mohamed Irfan Ali, do hereby solemnly declare that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the people of Guyana. I will faithfully execute the office of President without fear or favor, affection or ill will, and that in the execution of the functions of that office, I will honor, uphold, and preserve the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. I do so swear. So help me God.
After being sworn into office as the 9th president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Mr. Ali made his first set of appointments, naming and swearing in his prime ministerial candidate, former Army Chief of Staff Brigadier Retired Mark Phillips, Bharat Jagdeo as Vice President, Anil Nandlal as Attorney General, and Gil Teixeira as Minister of Parliamentary Affairs and Governance. The President said he would at a later time in the week announce an inauguration ceremony, at which time he would
I thank you sincerely for your efforts. And I assure you that Guyana is better because of your efforts. Guyanese will have a brighter future because of your efforts. And I ask you to put your hands together for all those who played such an integral role.
The president said he would at a later time in the week announce an inauguration ceremony, at which time he would identify the names of those persons who would form the next government. In addressing the gathering, the president thanked his supporters while outlining that there's much to be done to develop the land of many waters. The president also extended gratitude to the members of the international community, CARICOM, and all those, he said, who were closely involved in the fight for democracy to prevail.
But you would know that in voting for the People's Progressive Party Civic, you have elected a government to serve all the people of Guyana, and that is what your next government will be doing. We will not disappoint you.
The president reminded that by electing his government to power, Guyanese have elected a government for all citizens of the country. Wendell Badri for HGP Nightly.
It took them 5 months to get there, but they got there. And swearing in on the Kawan, he became president today. And I want to get your thoughts regarding the fact that Britain today advised that they would be investigating that particular election and holding sanctions against Guyana should they be found guilty of balloting fraud, per se. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, first I want to thank you for presenting that video clip. I had not seen it, and I want you to take note of President Irfan Ali's clothing that he wore. He had a blue suit, a white shirt, and a red tie on. He's wearing the colors. Am I right?
That's right.
He's wearing the colors that of Guyana, USA, and the same exact colors that some other very famous presidents wear. So I think that's a signal, some kind of signal President Irfan Ali is giving to us. Ken, I don't want to put any negative inference at all into Irfan Ali's religion. I think that the people of Guyana are looking at him as their president and as the party of the non-African slaves descendants, as the party of the Indian indentured servants. However, that being said, you see that his cabinet is made up of different races of people. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad there was a smooth transition, no gunfire. It was fought out in the courts, yes, because you know why? The population is divided almost right down the middle. Yeah. So nobody can win by 90% and refuse to and be president for. It's right down the middle. So you win just by a drop. The problem with their system, I think, is that even though you win by a drop, you get all the power. You can appoint the mayors, you can appoint the district leader. It's not like in America where, we have elections every few weeks in America.
That's right.
School boards and congressional districts and re-election districts, and every kind of district, there's always an election. In Guyana, it's different. They have one every few years, and it's really a kind of bitter battle, and it's unfortunate, but a lot of negative comes out, because we're not having another election for years, so we got to fight to the end. It's like if America only had one election,
Exactly.
We have many, 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 many elections.
Exactly. Also, their constitution is some 285 plus pages long in comparison to the 27 pages of the U.S. Constitution. And there are two basic principles that they guarantee for the individual. One is a guarantee of happiness, and the other is a guarantee that you will be working. But that guarantee wasn't, I don't think either one of them is kept, but that guarantee isn't kept because one of the things that Mr. Ali campaigned on is creating 50,000 jobs in 5 years. I want to ask you, and isn't that a confine of Marxism? 50,000 jobs when you could create an abundant economy out of a land that has the second largest oil reserves in the world. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, I think the size of their constitution, the number of pages that you referred to, is the exact number of pages of the constitution of the former Soviet Union.
Mm.
So it's a mirror image, unfortunately, that needs to be corrected. Guyana would be much better off as part of the United States with the protections of the Constitution of the United States, rather than the false guarantees of the Soviet Constitution of the Soviet Union that disappeared into oblivion so many years ago. So they need to get updated, and they need to become part of the USA.
Now, part of the USA, the majority of Americans believe in capitalism. That's going to be difficult for a nation that's raised in Marxism. Also, constitutionalism, in the sense that there is a sense of citizenship, and there's duly elections and things of that particular nature. And the whole idea of individual sovereignty, where individuals own private property, which doesn't seem to be the fad in that. Would they be open to that from what you see with Guyana, USA?
I think that they would be, because the people of Guyana, generally speaking, are not Marxists and not Leninists. Mm-hmm. They're religious people, whether they're Christians, Hindus, or Muslims. They're religious, and so they believe God being supreme, not the state. So they're not Leninists.
Yes.
Right. And I think they could support the Constitution. In other words, when you see President Irfan Ali just took the oath, I'm not sure which holy book he was holding, but he was holding a holy book. So yeah. I don't think he's a Marxist-Leninist. I really don't. And I think we could, I wish we could talk to him so that we could convince him to start thinking about asking perhaps the Guyanese parliament for consideration to petition the U.S. for American territoriality. And if I could just say one other thing, Ken, before I forget. A few months ago, maybe it's already a year, President Donald Trump remarked that Greenland should be part of the USA.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember.
Yes, I do.
He and he had brought it was an old idea from the 50s when we were at Cold War with the Soviet Union. That's correct. People laughed at Trump and thought he was mad and everything. Well, I didn't laugh at him. I was cheering. We were hoping it was going to happen. We said, "Oh man, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. We're going to see it. We're going to see Guyana, USA." But unfortunately, it fizzled out.
Yeah.
But we're hoping that with Guyana, it won't fizzle out. That we could achieve this.
I agree with you. Now, I want to ask one other thing, and then I want you to give 3 major reasons why the Guyanese who are watching tonight should consider becoming a territory or at least a state of the union. But the question that I have is Russia to the east in Venezuela, China in Guyana, and they are giving billions of dollars to Guyana for quote-unquote infrastructure development, but we all know what that really is in terms of the Silk Road initiative. It is to take possession of a mighty land. Is it wise for a country that doesn't have much of an army or a navy or marine corps or any other type of combat and has so many great resources to side with either China or Russia?
I would say that Guyana should avoid doing that at all costs. And I'd like to share a quick anecdote with you.
Yes.
Guyana recently bought a fireboat for about $100 million. An extravagant boat that's used in big cities with skyscrapers on the water and cruise ships and everything. And when they spent all that money, they bankrupted the fire departments of the entire country.
Oh.
All the fire trucks are broken. When somebody's house catches fire, it is a complete disaster and a total loss. The fire stations are a wreck. And why did they buy this foreign-built fireboat? And who did they buy it from? I'll put that out to you. It was a very troubling mistake. As far as Venezuela and the Russians, we have another very serious problem with Venezuela and the Russians.
Yes.
Venezuela is on the border of Guyana.
Yes.
Historically, they had a border dispute, which was settled by an international court over 100 years ago, when it was
Yes.
British Guyana, right?
Mhm.
And when the Spanish Empire dissolved and Venezuela became an independent country. And so what happens is that this territory, which is not, the Venezuelans haven't really given up their claim to it, is now being filled with starving, poverty-stricken migrants fleeing Venezuela into the western part of Guyana, so that the western part of Guyana one day may not really be Guyanese, because nobody will be Guyanese there. Nobody will be a descendant of an African slave. Nobody will be a descendant of an indentured servant from South Asia or India. Everybody will be Venezuelans.
Yes.
So Guyana will lose 3/4 of its territory if it's not careful. So Guyana needs to be careful about the two threats. One from, as you said, Russia, Iran, and Venezuela to the west, and the Chinese. Just one more thing about China. You know, if you go to the airport, which I mentioned earlier, with the 16,000-foot runway, the Chinese rebuilt it for billions and billions of dollars. One of the most modern airports in the world for a country that has 2 international flights a day, that has a very poor road system.
Exactly.
You know, no rail system, no bus terminal, and to spend all these billions to let the Chinese build you a $2 billion, it makes no sense.
Exactly.
So you bankrupt the country. Very dangerous.
Exactly. 50,000 jobs is not going to bring in enough tax revenue to pay off China. China will collect, as they have done in Africa. They will take your port. They will take your property. They have no problem collecting. Robert, can you tell the Guyanese 3 major reasons before you go as to why tonight they need to pick up the phone and contact the State Department, Secretary Pompeo, and say, you know what? Maybe we need to begin talking about a relationship between the U.S. And us that's not necessarily one of a diplomatic one, but one in which we become a part of the United States of America?
Well, the first reason would be that if Guyana were to become part of the U.S. by territoriality, all the Guyanese people, no matter where they are on Earth, would be entitled to U.S. citizenship. And that would break down any barrier, any wall between Guyana and America, so that goods could travel freely and tax-free between the two countries. That would be the first reason. The second reason would be the currency, would be the U.S. dollar,
Exactly.
instead of a weak and unrecognized Guyana dollar. By the way, back to the passport, they wouldn't need visas to go anywhere. They would have a U.S. passport, valid anywhere to travel. Another reason would be, I think it would provide security from the threat from Iran and Venezuela and Russia to the west. And another reason would be that I think it would strengthen the democratic institutions in Guyana and help to bring Guyana into the modern world. You know, a more reliable power grid,
Oh yeah.
modern highways and health, and a postal system and a fire department. The normal things that we kind of expect uh, in the U.S.
Now, just in retort, there are going to be some Guyanese that say, Robert, we can do all that because we got oil. Is having oil enough to satisfy modernization needs?
Well, oil right now, I think, is as cheap as water. So I would say that oil is, Libya was one of the richest oil countries in the world. It's it's destroyed. Venezuela was the richest oil country in the Americas. It's wiped out. Oil doesn't mean anything, and
Thank you.
uh, I think it's a mistake to rely on oil, and that the people that love Guyana should not misinterpret what Guyana USA is all about. We love Guyana too. We just
Yes.
want Guyana to be part of the USA. Could I just say
Yes.
one other thing?
Go right ahead.
It's kind of funny. You know, this idea has been around Guyana USA for what, 40 years? Okay,
Yes.
and no matter what, I always hear the same thing. Oh, you're you want to take over Guyana because you're with Trump. I'm
Yeah.
not with Trump. You know, you want to destroy the independence of a third world country. I do not want to destroy the independence of a third world country. We want to bring Guyana into America. Now, from the right of the spectrum, you know what I was criticized? While the left was criticizing me for destroying an independent third world country, the right was saying to me, you're going to tip the Electoral College if you bring 500,000 people into America. So both sides were mistrustful of me. And I'm saying it's not about the presidency, it's not about the Electoral College, it's about U.S. citizenship for all the people of Guyana.
I must tell you, one of the things that you said earlier as we close in our conversation tonight strikes at the heart of why the people on the right shouldn't necessarily be the antithesis to Guyana USA. And it's simply the fact that most of those individuals who have left Guyana came to the United States of America. And they came to a nation that was free in capitalism, free in constitution, had individual sovereignty, put Christ first. They came for many of those particular reasons, but especially for the economic sense of it all, that they can make wealth and not have to worry about the state obligation per se. And it is that pursuit of independence and freedom that we would protect more so than anything else. And right now, with Russia clamping down in Venezuela and China, edging ever closer, they need to be protected, and the best protection would be to become a territory of the United States of America. Robert, Sidi, God bless you, sir. Thank you so much. This will not be the last time you come on the air, because those people on the right have to understand, in order to change minds, you have to actually introduce minds to the change. God bless you, sir.
Ken, it has been a pleasure to speak with you tonight. God bless you, and I look forward to speaking to you in the near future.
Looking forward to it. Robert Sidi, ladies and gentlemen, founder of Guyana USA. At Guyana USA, we are not talking about taking over a country or colonializing a nation. We are talking about a threat to a third world nation that is as great as Cuba was in the 1960s. It is really that national security deep if y'all don't really think about it. And quite frankly, those people who would win would be China or Russia, and we don't want that to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We will be back with more of the best in urban conservative talk right after